Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to What You Want, and thanks for logging on. There she blows. You're looking at the Hublot King Power Oceanographic 1000, 48 millimeters in 18 karat red gold. This one of 200 2012 limited edition has got the goods if you want something that's big, bad, and unabashedly extrovert. Now, Hublot is a company that is not afraid to piss people off. I'm just going to say it like that. They make love it or hate it watches, and they're not afraid of the other side of the equation. But with only 200 of these made in 2012, a limited edition tribute to the Oceanographic Museum of Monaco, Hublot knows it can find 200 people who think this thing is the living end of the deep end. And on the wrist, the first shock might be you don't have to have the wrist of Moby Dick to wear this thing. My wrist is only 6.3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. And the bottom line is the watch fits comfortably. Now, the style, no doubt, is ballistic missile submarine for your arm. But you can also see that the strap has plenty of room to splay out. So as huge as this thing is, and believe me, you can feel every carat of those 18 on the 48 millimeter diameter case, which I gotta say is a very conservative 48 millimeters. This thing looks and feels more like 60. But it's comfortable. Hublot's legendary natural rubber strap feels a treat against the skin. With short lugs, you can see side to side, it has no problem overlapping, and it actually rests fairly flush. A big part of the credit goes to a caseback that's nicely rounded and nestles into the skin to give the watch a little bit of purchase and anchor it firmly. But, as ever with Hublot, they realize that they can build a bigger watch, but they can't build a bigger customer. So the watch has been ergonomically designed to fit comfortably, even though it is, as I stated, about 18 millimeters thick and an absolute titanic block of gold. But that's part of its strong suit, and that's part of its appeal. Now you can see all aspects of this case have been exquisitely detailed, and I'm going to say whether you like the style or not, there's really no arguing that the craftsmanship, especially the gold finishing, is quite beautiful. And this watch is absolutely dripping, pun intended, with features. First and foremost, it's an extreme dive watch. The successor to the 2011 Oceanographic 4000, the 1000 added a number of features, notably a chronograph, that took the concept to the next level. Now, because it is a dive watch, you can see that deep, detailed, technical dial features a correspondingly clever, unidirectional, internal rotating bezel. And the nice thing about it is you can see how I can just finger the crown and roll it along because it is unidirectional. It ratchets in one direction, turns in another, fully loomed so that you can see it when you dive. It's blacked out with black luminova on the surface. Now, it does feature a screw-down feature for the crown that actually moves the bezel, so I had it pre-unscrewed just for the sake of demonstration. But then there's also a guard that goes up and over it for the sake of security, a bash guard if you will. Now, the watch also features a chronograph with a unique radial seconds and radial minutes indication. So, reasoning that no one's going to stay down for hours, Hublot cleverly modifies the basic Valjoux 7750 movement to incorporate that radial second, but also the radial minute. So you don't have subdial minutes here, you have radial minutes, making it far easier to read off 5-minute intervals of your dive time. Naturally, for an extreme dive watch rated to over 3,000 feet, it does feature a helium relief valve, which you can sort of see gleaming. It's a lustrous blackened metal right here at 8 o'clock. This watch has all of the hardware you'd expect on a dive watch, and it has some features, quite frankly, that you wouldn't. For instance, Hublot's quick release buckle system. So if you want to dress the watch up or dress it down, and you can put it on an extended textile for use over a dive suit, you're good to go. Hublot makes that quite easy to accomplish with their automotive buckle style system, and that's top and bottom. So both sides of the cases, both lugs, they pop off. It's that easy. And the watch does feature a date. It does feature conventional time-telling calibrations, and quite frankly, given the size of those big, beautiful rose gold skeletonized hour and minute hands, it does function as a practical timekeeper, but this is a watch for making a statement and making an entry, and let me assure you, when you're wearing the Oceanographic 1000 in red gold, you will. Now, the pin buckle itself allows for easy adjustment and sizing because this is a sports watch. If you are going swimming with it, if you are getting sweaty, if your wrist does expand, it's easy to simply readjust the location of the pin buckle itself. So that's the logical setup for a sports watch. Hublot doesn't skimp though. They give you a beautiful layered rose gold pin buckle that recapitulates the design of the case with Hublot's signature titanium PVD H-pattern screws, as well as a layered design with the composite inlay between a sandwich of red gold, just like the highly technical layered design of the Hublot case. Now the watch does feature a 42-hour power reserve automatic winding. It does feature stop seconds, so if you want to synchronize to a dive timer, when you unscrew the crown and you pull it, it will stop the balance to allow precise synchronization of seconds to seconds, minutes to minutes, and hours to hours with your reference timer. This watch has a lot going on, visually, technically, and really substantially. There's a lot to be said about the way Hublot makes gold watches, but what they do effectively is they differentiate the gold. The problem with a lot of other companies' gold watches is they're all gold. There's nothing to give contrast. There's no contrast in finish. There's no contrast in color. You don't have the interplay of the lights and the darks. So although this watch is, quite frankly, almost overwhelming in its size and its presentation, Hublot's designers clearly looked for ways to create contrast, and I really appreciate that. You can see the alternately sandblasted and brushed, circular brushed finish of this relieved bezel. You can see the relief channel for the bolts themselves, as well as the PVD coloration of the titanium bolts. You can see the relieved wells with the sandblasted interiors. You can see the brushed finish of the hoods of the lugs and the top of the case. You can also see the contrasting finish on each of the crowns along the flank of the case, alternately a polished surface, a matte finish with the Hublot signature H, and a polished metallic with lacquered inlay. There's a lot going on here, and Hublot tries to break up the sheer mass of the watch by giving you a lot of points of visual interest, and they really accomplish their goal in outstanding fashion. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the watch does represent a limited edition collaboration with the Oceanographic Museum of Monaco, and you can see Hublot gives you a beautiful logo of the museum on the back, and I feel that's probably the best treatment of the case back of a dive watch. You know it's got phenomenal dive depth rating. You can see that on the dial. You know that it's got a workmanlike, rugged tractor movement inside. And you know, quite frankly, that to get the most out of a dive watch, you want to optimize hermeticity and watertight integrity, so you don't want a sapphire in the case back. So Hublot gives you a beautiful engraved logo of the museum with a dedication around the circumference, and I feel that's the perfect way to cap off a watch that is, quite frankly, an underwater watch that's over the top in every way. This is the Hublot King Power Oceanographic 1000 18-karat red gold 48 millimeters in the King Power case. This is one of only 200 made. This is kind of like that yacht that has all the toys, the jet ski, the helicopter, the mini sub, the mini yacht, all in one. It's almost an overwhelming water toy in its own right. That's the Hublot King Power Oceanographic 1000, and you can see it on our website, Watch You Want.